Where'd my GoPro go? In our previous episodes, we started in the Teton Mountain range, then across the south side of Idaho to Twin Falls, before heading north to the Stanley area, and now north to Salmon, Idaho. It was a good day to start off on a hike to the Gold Bug Natural Hot Spring. What we thought was a short 3.5 mile round trip hike ended up to be a little more challenging than we expected. The trail has an 800-foot elevation gain with the first vertical climb just as you start the trail. There was even some scrambling over rocks at the end. Despite the challenging hike, the area is beautiful with a stream running along much of the trail, waterfalls along the way, and mountain views. There are pools of varying temperatures for all preferences, and you can expect the site to be a busy, challenging hike. Make sure you bring lots of drinking water. Southeast of the town of Salmon, we headed up the Lewis and Clark Highway from Tendoy, which is a 12-mile dirt road leading up to the Lemhi Pass. The Native Americans had discovered this pass long before Lewis and Clark came through. Lewis wrote in his diary that he found a large and plain Indian road through the pass. At the top was the Continental Divide and the Montana-Idaho state line at an elevation of 7,300 feet. Lewis and Clark, of course, came up the pass from Montana side and into Idaho as they headed west towards the Pacific Ocean. You'll pretty much enjoy the same views they had enjoyed back in 1805. A few hundred yards into Montana, you'll find the most distant spring. That is the start of the endless Missouri River. You too can bestride the Missouri River, as Meriwether Lewis talks about in his journal. Heading west back through the town of Salmon, we once again meet up with the Salmon River. We follow the river to North Fork, where it makes its turn towards the west, then find our camping site along the river. Not too far from the main road, this site doesn't offer much privacy, but with the sounds of the river to lull you to sleep, it's still a nice place to spend the night. If you look at the map of Idaho, mountains and rivers clearly define where the roads would be located. You'll probably hear the phrase, "You can't get there from here," and that's the case for us today. To get where we want to go, we'll need to leave Idaho and travel through Montana, returning in a few days via the Lolo Pass. We rose early to search for the epic campsite that Tristan from SUV RVing showed in one of his videos. This site is in the Bitterroot National Forest off Highway 93, 14 miles down Lost Horse Creek Road. We finally arrive at the lat lawn provided, and we were happy to find the site vacant despite being the weekend. Throughout the day, we watched 2 helicopters fighting a forest fire at 12 Mile Creek as puffy clouds of smoke came over the ridge. That afternoon, a Forest Service law enforcement officer stopped by to mention they may close the road in a day or two, but we only planned to stay for one night. Then he saw the waterfall and commented on a great campsite. We spent all day just enjoying the water and relaxing. After seeing a video from Tristan on SUV RVing about the Belgian Canyon overlook west of Hamilton, Montana, we headed there to see the canyon for ourselves. We're excited to send the drone through the canyon to get some great footage. Unfortunately, it was so smoky from the local and west coast forest fires, we couldn't see a thing. We'll leave a link to his video in the description so you can see how beautiful it really looks. Next, we headed east to the Sapphire Mountains on some of Montana's lesser traveled roads. As you slowly drive the winding road, you come around a corner and see 150-foot towering Skalkaho Falls right on the side of the road. Enjoy the views and watch for traffic on the road, as there really isn't much space for parking. As the day was coming to an end, we were in the Lolo National Forest just east of the Lolo Pass before entering back into Idaho. There weren't many options, but we found a nice level site in the woods of old-growth pines that was very quiet and peaceful. After descending 1,100 feet, we passed through the Lolo Pass and back into Idaho on Highway 12, headed to another natural hot springs. Crossing the suspension bridge over the Skalkaho River, we took an easy 1-mile hike through the woods back to the Jerry Johnson Hot Springs. There are several different locations with many soaking pools of varying temperatures. This is a beautiful site with pools right along the Warm Springs Creek. This majestic cedar grove is dedicated to the memorial of Bernard DeVoto, conservationist, author, and historian. He often camped here while studying the journals of Lewis and Clark. Cedar trees grow slowly. They are long-lived, reaching full maturity in 400 to 500 years, and if undisturbed, they can survive for 3,000 years. After leaving the hot springs, our intention was to drive the Lolo Motorway 100 miles, joining it at Parachute Road 569, driving to Pierce, then heading north to Wallace. This single-lane road, built with the help from the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s, is not for the faint of heart. The motorway follows the footprints of the Nez Perce when they traveled the Buffalo Trail. The Lewis and Clark expedition struggled along the same ridges. It is unpaved, narrow, rocky, and steep, and is suitable for high-clearance vehicles only.
Or am I going back? I got nowhere to go back to. I can hug the curb back here.
Yeah, I think
Oh, he's backing up.
First pair we've seen.
Yep. Don't tip it over, man. Holy
Is there
cow.
enough room?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think
think
so
back
either.
by the tree there was, I think, enough room.
All right, I'm gonna back up.
Okay, let me go talk to him.
Yeah.
After 4 hours of driving, we'd only traveled 24 miles of the Lolo Highway. While it was beautiful and fun to drive, we decided that we unfortunately didn't have enough time in our schedule to make it to Wallace by the end of the next day if we stayed on this road. We decided to camp at the junction of the Lolo Motorway and Deer Creek Road, hoping the smoke might clear up so we could enjoy some views on the way down the mountain in the morning. Late in the night, the skies cleared of the smoke and the stars were out again with their beautiful display. Grabbing the GoPro and setting on time-lapse mode, I placed it on a stump near the camper and hoped that I'd catch the display better this time around. In the morning light, I quickly went to retrieve my camera to see the pictures of the stars, only to find an empty stump. Where did the camera go? Did some animal pick it up and carry it away? Searching around, we couldn't find it. Then we noticed 2 sets of hiking boot prints over our tracks and leading to the stump. Despite having only passed 2 cars the entire day before on this route, we realized the Nimipu hiking trail crossed near our campsite and our camera had been stolen. This was a sad lesson learned. With our camera gone and the smoke still blocking our views, it was time to descend the 4,000 feet off the mountain via the Doe Creek Road. Believe it or not, this road was even worse than the Lolo Motorway, turning into a 2-track road part of the way down. We rejoined Highway 12 and drove the scenic and winding road along the river through the canyon. We plan to revisit this area in the future when the skies are clear. This sight of a semi tipped on its side proved how windy the roads were. When we got to Orofino, one lane of the highway was closed so emergency vehicles could use it to fight the forest fires along the way. Just off Interstate 90 at exit 54 between the towns of Kellogg and Wallace, you'll find the Sunshine Mine Disaster Memorial. A 13-foot-tall metal miner with a glowing headlamp memorializes the Sunshine Mine disaster of May 2, 1972. The statue stands behind 91 miniature tombstones, one for each miner who suffocated in a smoky fire at America's largest silver mine. The metal-sculpted hard rock miner eternally beams his cap lamp toward the site of America's worst mining disaster. On our final day in Idaho, we were 1,900 miles from home and meeting up with my wife's parents who lived just 5 miles from our house, but they had been traveling in Montana for the last several weeks. We planned to ride the route of the Hiawatha Bike Trail. It's the crown jewel of rail-to-trail projects in the country. Over 15 miles of railroad track had been converted into a beautiful and gentle downhill biking and walking trail. There are 10 tunnels, including the 1.7-mile St. Paul Pass Tunnel, and 7 trestle bridges up to 230 feet high. Equipment rentals are available at the Lookout Pass ski area, and an optional return shuttle service is available. The trail is open from approximately mid-May through mid-September. It was a beautiful ride, almost all downhill, with plenty of historical signs along the way. Unfortunately, the smoke from the forest fires to the west settled in the area and took away from the beauty of the views. After spending hours on the trail and returning the rental bikes, we crossed into Montana for our 13th boondocking site. We found a nice site along the Clark Fork River, camping with family before heading towards home. If you enjoyed the video, we'd be honored if you gave us a thumbs up. If you want to see more of our videos, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time.